We are what we think. All that we are arises with our thoughts. With our thoughts, we make the world. Speak or act with a pure mind, and happiness will follow as your shadow, unshakable. These are the words of the Buddha. Namo Amida Butsu. Namo Amida Butsu. Namo Amida Butsu. Namanda, namanda, namanda. Good morning. Welcome to the last Sunday of April. Thank you for inviting me, along with Sensei Grace Hatano, to share service today and your whole message. You know, springtime ushers in so many wonderful events here to our temple and our community. Our third grade Dharma school students are preparing for the Ichigo procession and observance that commemorates the moment that our founder, Shinran, shown depicted here on the right of our altar, entered monastic life. Our president, Bobby Tanaka, and Board of Trustees member Steve Kashiwada are finalizing the details for our Betsuin's first ever Cars and Coffee event that will be held here on Saturday, May 11th. The deadline for reserving space on the 13-day tour of Sendai and Hokkaido, Japan, is soon approaching. And this 13-day tour is outlined here on a flyer here on the top of the piano. So please help yourself to that. Let's see. Gail Kono continues to lead our Toastmasters here in public speaking. If you don't attend the Toastmasters, we encourage you to be part of Dharma School, and then our Dharma School teachers will help you chair service, so that'll be good. Lastly, I'd like to give a shout out to our Buddhist Women's Association, to our Adult Buddhist Association, to past President Gordon Nita, along with Marty and Kim Sakata, and the volunteers who have been keeping the tradition of Reiko and Cruz after service refreshments in the courtyard going for us. Not only that, your ministerial team is busy as ever, active as ever. Yuki Sensei is taking care of our sister temple in Placer. And then following that, he travels to Reno, Nevada to meet with the Sangha in Reno, Nevada. Reverend Matt is conducting memorial services in Loomis. Sensei Koichi is in Marysville. Sensei Keith conducting service at Walnut Grove. And Reverend Patty is taking care of our sister temple in Central Cal at Parlier and Fowler. So truly, savoir-faire is everywhere. By the way, how did everybody do with the homework that Yuki Sensei gave to us? If I saw the thought bubbles that were popping up here, it might say, what homework, right? What homework? I can't say that my dog ate it, can't say that I left it at home. But do you remember 2 weeks ago, at the end of service, Sensei had instructed us how to place our service books in the pew, right? How does things look? Yeah? So here in our special place of practice, here in our hondo work, in our Dharma home, is this demonstration, this small act of thoughtful orderliness. That this organization, it serves as a small signpost or a tool for us, this simple, repeatable act of tidying up, no differently than picking up a scrap of paper or picking up the flower petals and keeping things tidy. It sets the stage for us to perhaps more thoughtfully appreciate the teachings, helps us to unclutter our minds and focus our thoughts to see things more clearly And if you've been to my household recently, you know that my wife Cheryl and her good friend Tina have been organizing me in the garage. And I have to say that my mind is a bit more clear. Was super hesitant to make this happen. It's been a year's project going. So similarly, when we enter our hondo, our place of practice, when we place a small monetary offering into the osaisen coin box, we are expressing our gratitude to hearing the teachings of the Buddha. And at the same time, we are supporting with every coin, with every paper bill, we're providing support for our Dharma school. That program provides the resources for the development and the outlook of our community youth. This too is our hondo work. In other words, in an interconnected way, everything that we do, when we begin with the correct view, so then can follow our correct thoughts, speech, and actions. These are just two small examples meant to illustrate the guidance of our Eightfold Path, which is represented by the 8 spokes of the Dharma wheel, or the 8 insights of the wheel of Dharma. When we begin to turn the wheel with the correct view, then we can pursue and practice the correct livelihood, the correct effort, correct mindfulness, and correct meditation. Simple, right? With today's world events roiling communities near and far, national and international, I would like to share a personal story that illustrates one concept of correct view. Looking in life's rearview mirror, I'd like to briefly take you back 4.5 decades to the year 1979. That year, I rode my bicycle to an aged, dingy, but well-loved post office in the heart of downtown Los Angeles in order to register for the Armed Services Draft. How interesting is that? Barely old enough to vote. Certainly too young to drink. But instead, to be of age to carry a rifle into battle and be ordered to take human life. Due to world events, then as now, the threat of widespread war in the Middle East loomed large, due in part to a religious coup that had taken power in the country known as Iran. That followed the political collapse of a United States ally, the Shah of Iran. The Shah was weakened by cancer, and he had traveled abroad for medical treatment. Subsequently, our United States Embassy in Tehran was taken siege, and our staff captive. So would begin 440 days of stalemate and struggle for our embassy personnel who would be kept in captivity and subjected to harsh treatment. Here at home, during the Carter years, painful fuel shortages, runaway inflation, and record unemployment would follow. Civil unrest seemed palpable on every street corner. However, a military draft did not resume. Later still, a change in presidential administrations ushered in the release of our captive fellow citizens, and the outlook for communities across our nation began to brighten. Even so, when I was asked my thoughts on President Jimmy Carter, I spent many of the subsequent years flippantly thinking of the Carter administration as an utter failure. Often, I found myself criticizing our nation's leader, whom I'd never met, nor with whom I'd ever shared any words. So tightly did I hold onto this outlook and conclusion that I left little room in my heart to see or interpret anything else. Such a view of this difficult period in time no doubt influenced the way that I thought, spoke, and acted in the years to follow. But it was about the time that I was assigned medical training at the Fort Ord Army Hospital in Monterey, California, that my reflections and impressions evolved to be viewed somewhat more clearly. During my education, I was allowed to take care of United States servicemen, active duty and veterans alike, some with bodies broken, others spiritually bruised. These servicemen were of the 7th Infantry Light. And most recently, while attending the memorial services of dear friends who decades earlier had unselfishly served and survived combat in service to our country, did I realize how attached I had become to an errant judgment and clouded view. While sharing feelings of deep gratitude at the lives before me and sitting in deep contemplation at the separation from close friends and family members, I realized that I had been spared a warrior's destiny by the Carter administration's spirit of human decency and our president's strife for cultivating morality within our government. Looking back with Dharma eyes open, because President Jimmy Carter's administration refused to allow the United States to be goaded into a war, my draft number was never called. And I was instead given the opportunity to live this precious life, to pursue my education, to become immersed in the depth of the Dharma, to share with a thoughtful Sangha, and to help play a part in cultivating a meaningful community. In other words, as the result of karma, as a result of the consequence of countless causes and conditions, the lesson that human life is precious and not to be wasted resonates so deeply. Nearly 2,600 years ago, the historical Shakyamuni Buddha articulated this very truth, recorded in the Dhammapada. He said, "We are what we think. All that we are arises with our thoughts. With our thoughts, we make the world." Truly, such a teaching is for us to meditate, emulate, and cultivate. Transitioning to the modern day reminds me of a question that was put to one of our most meaningful teachers, Reverend Bob Oshta. R.B. was asked how one might best treasure such a precious life. How was Buddhist thought and practice? How did it contribute? How did it contribute to your goals in life? R.B. paused and thought and responded, "My goal in life is to become a true human being of no rank, to make every effort to be mindfully present, to live my life so that I can, at any age, let go of life with no regret." Said another way, for us walking on the Dharma path, perhaps there is no more significant constant process working toward a worthy, meaningful goal of an attainable dream and an ultimate lifetime of fulfillment. Each day that we are able to gather together is a precious gift, don't you agree? But don't just take my word for it. Deeply gaze within. Test it to see that it is true. Every opportunity to reflect upon the guidance of countless teachers is cause to celebrate, and every moment spent with those whose lives give meaning to our own represent an unrepeatable treasure. These are the teachings of the Buddha. With palms pressed together, please join me in Gassho. The wisdom of Sangha member Dr. Eiji Shinfuku reflected upon the reality of impermanence and said, "Unlike our phones, we don't have unlimited minutes. So let us treasure one another here and now. When we begin with the correct view, naturally follows our correct thoughts, speech, and actions." Namo Amida Butsu. Namo Amida Butsu. Namo Amida Butsu. Namanda, namanda, namanda.